So as you have possibly guessed from the title and the thumbnail, in this reading vlog I am finally going to be reading The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is book 1 in the Kingkiller Chronicles, almost said that wrong then, the Kingkiller Chronicles, which is most well known for being an incomplete series. The second book came out over 10 years ago now, and no one has any idea really when book 3 is going to be coming out. So you may be thinking, Sam, why are you reading this book when you know it's an incomplete series? And the main reason is because I'm curious about this book. A lot of people say that it's one of their favourite fantasy books of all time, but also I made a 5-star predictions list nearly 3 years ago where I talked about a load of books that I thought could be 5 stars, and this was on that list. So the completionist in me wants to read it to see if it is 5 stars, and also I'd like to finally react to that video. So yeah, I am going to be reading The Name of the Wind for the first time in this vlog, and as you hopefully will have seen from the thumbnail, this vlog is going to be spoiler filled. So I was going back and forth on whether to do a spoiler free vlog or a spoiler filled vlog. I decided to include spoilers because when I film a spoiler free reading vlog, the purpose is to tell you whether I think a book is worth your time and whether you should pick it up. And because this is an incomplete series, I can't see there being any way that I would feel comfortable saying, yeah, you should pick this up, even though we have no idea when it's actually going to be finished. I don't think that that's ever something that I could push people to do. I feel like you should make your mind up on that yourself, kind of like how I have. So yeah, this video is going to be spoiler filled. If you don't want to know anything about this book, if you do still plan on picking it up, then you might not want to watch this. But if you have no intention of reading this, or if you've read it yourself and you want to hear my thoughts, then I hope you enjoy this vlog. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a coming of age story that follows a man named Kava, or Coat as he's known in the present day, and he is an innkeeper in this small community, and he's living a fairly quiet life until one day he is approached by this chronicler who is looking to tell his story. The reason for this is that Kava used to be the most notorious wizard the world had ever known until he disappeared one day and was presumed dead. Kava agrees to tell his story, but only if the chronicler allows him 3 days. So the concept is that each book in this series is a different day in the present day, but the bulk of the story is told in first-person POV in the past, where Kava is narrating his life. You follow him from when he's a young child through his adolescence until, I'm assuming, his adulthood. This first book only covers his childhood and teenage years. I think he's 15 by the time this book finishes. The book is split into parts, so you meet him initially when he's around 11 or 12 and he first discovers magic. Then something tragic happens and he ends up moving to this city where he lives alone on the streets and has to steal to survive. He then makes his way to the university, this magical school, and that's where the rest of the story kind of focuses on. But yeah, I feel like I've rambled enough in this intro, so thank you for watching this vlog and I hope you enjoy. If my voice sounds a little bit croaky right now, it's because I've had a cold for the past week and it's been very annoying, but I didn't want to leave it any longer before starting this vlog and sharing my first thoughts on The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I'm around 20% of the way through and so far I'm really enjoying it. I was really nervous going in because I'd heard that Patrick Rothfuss has a really beautiful writing style, and sometimes I find that when people describe an author's writing as being very beautiful, that can often mean that they have purple prose, and I don't always get along with purple prose. However, I'm not finding that with The Name of the Wind. The writing is really beautiful and lyrical, but it's immersive and it's flowing really well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the writing. I'm not sure how I feel about the main character yet. So we've met Kava, who is our main character, and at the point that I'm at, we've mostly been been learning about his earlier life. So when he was a child, he grew up as part of this travelling troupe of performers and actors. I like how music seems to be a big part of this story. So yeah, excited to carry on reading this. I'm a little bit scared because I recently saw someone compare this to The Realm of the Outlands by Robin Hobb, and in particular Fitz's story. And if you've read The Realm of the Outlands, you'll know that Fitz does not have the happiest of times, and I'm scared that this is also going to go in that direction. Some sad stuff has happened already, and while I didn't cry, I did feel emotionally invested, which I think is a good sign at this point of the book. So yeah, I'm gonna carry on reading this tonight. Interested to learn more about the magic of this world. I feel like it's going to be a softer kind of magic. Basically, the magic in this world is called sympathy. There has been some stuff that hasn't been fully explained yet, so occasionally characters will talk about stuff that they obviously know because they live in this world, but I as the reader don't live in that world, and so I don't have a clue what they're talking about. But I am confident that it's all going to come together and it's all going to make sense, and actually I quite enjoy that feeling of realisation where things do click into place, so hopefully I get that at some point in this book. Every time I wear this fluffy cape thing, I end up spilling something down myself, but I've managed not to do that so far this evening, which is great. I have been reading some more tonight. I am currently 30% of the way through Name of the Wind. I've just realised that's going to be really shiny, so I'll put a picture on the screen instead of holding up my Kindle, but I'm 30% of the way through now, and I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about Kavoth, because obviously he is at the centre of the story, he is the main character, and my overwhelming feeling so far is, wow, this kid is going through a lot. I think it's really difficult to criticise a character this young for any decisions that they make, but I'm really interested to see how I feel about him as he gets older. He's already, I think, 15 at the part that I'm at now, and we've seen a little bit of what he's capable of and how he got revenge against the kid that attacked him when he first arrived at this city. We've been hearing these stories from the past. It's difficult to work out though what's the truth and what's just a story. Like, there was this guy in this inn who was telling stories about this guy Lanra, who's also called Haliax. Apologies if I get any of the pronunciation wrong, but Kavoth has remembered that there was someone with that name who was there when his parents were killed. So I reckon that he is going to go on some kind of revenge mission. The thing about a book like this is that I enjoy this type of world building where it's not info dumping and you're gradually learning about the world. I also get confused when stuff is mentioned and I can't work out whether I'm meant to know what the characters are talking about or whether it's just a case of I've not heard about it yet. I might need to go back to some of the earlier chapters and check whether we've been told who the Chandrian are and whether there's been an explanation around that. I am really, really liking this, and obviously it's great because I want to be enjoying this book, because otherwise why would I be reading it? I'm very aware that it's not a complete series and I might end up feeling really frustrated about that. I mean, there's no might about it. I will end up feeling frustrated about that, but it's all good. I know what I'm getting myself into, so it's fine. I am now around 45% of the way through The Name of the Wind. We've reached the magic school, which is really exciting because that's the reason why I added this book to my TBR whenever I heard about it a few years ago. I wanted to read it because people were recommending it for the magic school setting, and that is a setting that I really enjoy, so very excited that we're now there. I can understand why some people don't like Kavoth because we're starting to see a little bit of arrogance and obnoxiousness coming from him. I'm trying to overlook it because obviously we've seen him since he was a young boy. I feel like the way that he's acting now, it makes sense for his character. For example, there was a scene where he was in his first lecture, I think it was, or his second lecture, and the professor was being a bit of a dick and basically said to him, if you think that you know everything, then come up front and teach this class instead. And that's exactly exactly what Kavoth did, and it felt like a performance, which makes sense because that's how he grew up. A common criticism that I've seen is that Kavoth is too clever and that everything seems to come easily to him, and I don't mind following a character who is clever and smart. What I don't like is a character who acts based purely on emotion and who doesn't think logically. And while Kavoth isn't completely emotionless, I feel like the steps that he's taken at the moment, coming to this university and researching his parents, well, not his parents, but the people who he thinks are responsible for killing his family. I feel like everything that he's done so far has made sense for his personality. Don't know how much researching he's going to be doing now that he's been banned from the archives. I really was frustrated at that entire scene. That's literally the last chapter that I read, was when he got banned from the library. Is it the library or just the archives? We met this character Ambrose and I hate him. I hate him, and yeah, I'm hoping that something terrible happens to wipe the smug grin off his face. The only actually other thing that I wanted to talk about is I made the mistake of reading the Goodreads synopsis for this book, and I feel like that synopsis is a little bit spoilery. I know from that synopsis that at some point Kavoth is going to kill a king and go into hiding afterwards. It literally says that in the synopsis, and I was chatting to my partner about this because I wasn't sure whether that was actually a spoiler, considering that this series is called The King Killer Chronicles. I don't know whether it is a spoiler, but obviously that's something that I would have rather not known going into the book. It was really interesting chatting to him because he was saying that this is a book where it's not really about what happens, it's more about the journey to get there, and I do agree. So I'm feeling a little better about knowing what direction we're going in, because I don't know how we're going to get there, and I feel like there's still going to be some twists and turns along the way. So I am now around halfway through The Name of the Wind. I'm actually over halfway through. I think I checked last night and I'm 54% of the way into this book. So I thought now would be a really good opportunity to talk about my predictions for the second half. I do have some predictions, but at the moment my main prediction is that this is going to be at least a 4 stars, if not a 5-star read for me. I'm really enjoying it and I can't see things going too downhill in the second half for me to absolutely hate it. I could be wrong, but I'm really enjoying the overall atmosphere. I'm really enjoying the direction that the story's going in. Don't know if this is going to be an all-time favourite fantasy book for me, but we'll see how things go in the second half. I do have some criticisms which I thought now would also be a good opportunity to talk about. To give a little bit of context, I'm at the part now where Kavoth has got himself into a little bit of debt. He needed money desperately to pay for his tuition for the next term, and he went to this loan shark type person who's lent him the money and he needs to pay it back plus interest. He's also acquired a lute, and as soon as that happened I thought, okay, I know what's going to happen here. He's gonna start playing this lute for money, and that's how he's going to get himself out of this financial sticky situation. The thing that I'm struggling with at the moment is I'm not feeling as much tension and anticipation as I would want to be feeling with this type of story, because of everything that's happened to Kavoth up until this point, and because everything seems to come so easily to him. I feel like he's gonna go to this pub and he's gonna play for this crowd and he's gonna get the money and he's gonna get a sponsor and everything is going to work out okay. Now that I'm talking about it though, I'm questioning why I feel that way, because there have been consequences to some of his actions. For example, there was a part earlier where he jumped off a roof because a professor told him to, and that didn't work out well for him. So I don't know, I want to be on the edge of my seat in this second half. That's what I really want. So hopefully there will be some surprises and this doesn't go exactly in the direction that I'm expecting it to. The other criticism that I have is that there's been a distinct lack of female characters in this story so far, and it's been said that there's going to be a romance. Don't know who the romance is going to be with yet. There's been 2 women that have been introduced within this last 10%. There was the woman who he borrowed money from, who's like the loan shark type person, and then there's also this girl Auri. She's very mysterious and we don't really know where she's come from yet, but I feel like it's going to be one of those two. Maybe there's even going to be a love triangle. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm hoping that whatever happens, it is something that I'm on board with. Something did occur to me earlier though, and that is, this is Kavoth telling his story. He is narrating the story, so all of the information that we're getting is from his memory, and obviously we've heard about how he's so clever and he remembers everything, so he thinks that this story is accurate, but I'm wondering whether it actually is, or whether we're meant to have that in the back of our minds, that this is just his account of what happened. So it turns out I was right about Kavoth and his musical ability. He did end up earning his pipes, as they call it, when he performed in this pub. I was wrong about the love interest though, I think. There's this other woman that's now come back into the story, and I don't think I even talked about her earlier in the vlog, but when Kavoth left the city to go to the university, he joined this travelling group and he met this woman called Denna, I think is her name, and he was attracted to her at this time, but Kavoth is attracted to pretty much every woman that he meets, so it didn't really cross my mind to think that she was going to be someone important, but she has now come back into the story. She's disappeared almost straight away again, and it also seemed like she was involved with his friend, so I'm not sure what's going to happen there, whether she is actually the love interest or just someone that's important in his story. I'm starting to get this really nervous feeling about Ambrose. I feel like Kavoth has underestimated him, and I feel like I, as the reader, have underestimated him as well, but there's been a little bit of foreshadowing where Kavoth has said something like, maybe that's why Ambrose tries to kill me at some point. I know that that now is going to happen. It's really interesting having Kavoth in the present day foreshadow events in the past. Like, he'll talk about stuff that's happened, but obviously it's not happened yet, it's still to come in the story, because that's building anticipation. I feel like I'm now waiting to find out how Ambrose is going to try and kill Kavoth. I wonder if that's going to happen in this book. It's a really interesting experience reading a book that's part of a series that you know is incomplete, because I don't know where this book is going to end and where the second book is going to pick up, but I'm assuming that this book is going to contain his time at the university, and then maybe the second book details some of his life after that. I don't know, but I am sure I will find out. Also, this is going to sound really weird, but one of my favourite things to do other than reading is play The Sims, and one of my favourite challenges in The Sims to do is the Rags to Riches challenge, where you have a sim, you start them off on an empty lot with zero money, and you build them up gradually. I guess what I'm trying to say is this story feels a little bit like a Sims 4 Rags to Riches challenge, and maybe that's why I'm finding it quite satisfying following Kavoth and seeing him gradually build himself up. So my plan for today is to try and finish The Name of the Wind. I think I have the equivalent of about 200 pages left to go, and I'm not doing anything today except read, so hopefully I'll be able to finish this today. It has been a little bit of a struggle the last few chapters. I don't care about Kavoth's crush on Denna. I don't like Denna. I don't like the way that her character has been written. There was a point where the innkeeper said something like, oh, Denna is the kind of woman who's so pretty and men just love her, so all women hate her, and I just thought, really? So yeah, I'm very tired today, but I'm hoping to get lots of reading done, and I am hoping to finally finish this. I just hope it picks up in the last quarter, because yeah, the last few chapters in particular have been a bit of a struggle, even though I understand that Kavoth is a teenager and he has crushes, but it's just not enjoyable to read. So it is time to share my final thoughts on The Name of the Wind, because I did end up finishing this last night, and I've ran it through Corpile, which is the rating system that I usually use to help me decide what to rate a book, and I'm gonna give this between a 4 and a 4.5 stars. I did start to find it a little bit tedious towards the end, which I think is what affected my overall rating, but generally speaking, I really liked the setting in this. I thought it was a really atmospheric writing style. I wish this was a completed series, because if it was, then I would immediately be going into book 2. This does not wrap up like a standalone, which I wasn't expecting, to be fair, but it really does end on a cliffhanger. Not even a cliffhanger, it just kind of ends. Within the last 30%, Kavoth does go off on this side quest where the original intention is to find out more about the Chandrian, but he ends up having to save this town from this dragon. I quite enjoyed that, actually. I would have enjoyed it more if Denna hadn't been there, but I did enjoy that whole side quest, so I guess you could say that that was the climax of the story. And then there was also a part in the present day where the inn was attacked by this person who seemed to be possessed. Not sure what was going on there, but I did enjoy the parts in the present day and how they complemented the past timeline. We also learn right at the end that it was Kavoth's assistant who essentially lured the chronicler to the inn to help Kavoth gain his spark back, because he's been concerned about him, and yeah, I thought that was an interesting twist as well. He also finally gained access to the archives by searching through the underground tunnels, so I'm interested in the second book what happens, because I double checked Goodreads and it does say in the synopsis that Kavoth ends up killing a king. Actually no, it doesn't say that Kavoth kills this king, it says that a king is murdered and Kavoth ends up going on the run after that, so maybe he's not actually responsible, or it's not actually him that's doing the killing, but I'm very intrigued about the second book. I don't know whether I want to pick it up though at this point, because this series isn't complete, but I also knew that going into it, and I really enjoyed this first book, so I do kind of want to see how it continues in book 2. My prediction for the second book is that pretty soon we're going to see Kavoth expelled from the university because of something involving Ambrose. Not sure what yet. I was expecting him to get expelled right at the end of this book. It is interesting how much foreshadowing there's been. I feel like I already have a good idea of what's going to happen in the second book. Obviously, I don't think I know everything, but just because of the amount of foreshadowing that's happened in this book, where it's literally told you what's going to happen at some point in the future. I feel like I'm just rambling now, so I'm going to wrap things up here. But yeah, thank you for watching if you made it this far. I am so glad that I finally read this book. I've been curious about it for so long that I feel like that curiosity has now been satisfied. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you've read this book. I'm going to assume if you're watching this vlog that you have read this book, but let me know any of your thoughts and feelings about it, and if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said in this vlog. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and click subscribe if you'd like to see more videos from me, but otherwise I will see you next time. Bye!